Hey guys, it's Ann Yorks, the owner of the Flower Box, and every Christmas season I love to make a cookie nativity set. I have a brand new design to share with you this year. This is really cute because it's multiple cookies that build one really special, colorful, bright cookie scene. Plus, at the end of the video, I'm going to show you how to pack up this whole set and put it in a 5x8 clear box. It is the perfect gift to give this holiday season. So let's cookie it up. Before I jumped onto the cookies, I did sketch out my plan because I wanted this set to be super colorful and I wanted to think through the icing colors for the embellishment at the top, an airbrushed background. Sketching it out just helps me think it through. Plus, I wanted to make sure I knew how I was going to package this set. I'll show you that at the end, but I'm planning to use this 5x8 clear box. Now, anytime you're baking cookies, chances are they're going to spread just a little bit. My recipe doesn't spread too much, but I do see just a little bit of expansion. And if you want nice, crisp, clear edges on your cookies, you can use a microplaner or a zester like I'm using now, and that just kind of sands off and squares up those edges. And on this set, I particularly wanted to do that since that back section of the nativity stable is made out of 3 different cookies. So I'm just gently sanding down each of these edges to get them nice and square. You might want to save those little cookie crumbs. They're great if you sprinkle it over whipped cream on a hot cocoa or even some ice cream. Now let's get to the decorating. You can see how those cookies fit really well together. And I'm going to start off with my outlines using a dark buckeye brown with piping tip number 2 on my icing bag. I'm going to outline the roof lines first, and then I also want to outline the stable. On this particular cookie set, I did not add stable supports in the brown on the left and right side, but on the other sets, I did have a little brown trim on the left and right. Also, if you want to recreate these cookies, you can find this cookie cutter set on flowerbox.com. It includes that center stable section, and then it includes just one of the sides. Since those 2 cookies are identical, they're just mirror images of themselves. When I was rolling out and baking, I cut 2 and I had to flip one over on the cookie sheet. I baked it upside down. That way I get one going each way. Now I am going to be airbrushing that center section, and so I'm filling these in nice and generous. I trimmed a little bit of a larger opening on that flood bag just to get a nice, full, flat surface on the cookie when it's dry. We just brought in these new Pinktail airbrush guns. We have one that goes with our 5-speed system. We also have one that goes with our cordless system. These Pinktails are great. They have the 0.5 millimeter needle inside, and they're great for airbrushing those thicker metallic airbrush colors that sometimes have a little trouble in the 0.4 millimeter guns. So I'm just pulling off that silver tail gun and I'm just wedging on the pink tail gun, just pushing nice and hard just to make sure that there is a nice full seal on there. And it's that easy. Now my pink tail is on there. I am going to be using a gold airbrush color with our brand new Starry Night stencil, and I'm super excited because this Starry Night just is going to look so pretty in that background. Now those airbrush colors tend to separate and settle a little bit, so do give them a nice good shake just to get that all color reincorporated. Whenever I'm using metallic, even if I'm using the pink tail, I really like to use my airbrush on the highest speed 5. Then I'm just going to gently keep that stencil in place, and I'm going to airbrush that color onto the stencil. Now, if you don't want to put your finger on the surface of that cookie stencil, you could also use your boo-boo stick to hold that in place. Either way works, and both are just as easy. Now I completely covered that stencil with the gold airbrush color, and it just leaves behind that sparkly, shimmery, Starry Night pattern. Now it's time to flood in the rest of the stable using that dark Buckeye Brown. You can see on these particular cookies, I did remember to add those brown sections on the left and right, and I do prefer that with this design. Now let me show you the little star with bow and greens. This is for the top of the stable because we want this to be a super colorful and cheerful cookie set. So I add the center star in the gold icing. I'm adding the greens using a leaf green, and I'm adding the ribbon using a turquoise. I'm using tip number 2 for all of these outlines, and once I have these outlined, I'm ready to start flooding in some of these alternating areas. Flood in nice and generously those greens, and then I'm also going to flood in the large top section of the bow. Allow those 2 sections to dry, and then you're ready to flood in those ribbons that are spilling down off the side. The last step is flooding in that star in the center, and you can just flood over those piped lines. That nice full surface will cover up those outlines. Now let's add just a couple details. I'm going to add some loopy vines on the greens, and then just add one little piped line on each of those ribbons just to add a little texture. I have sized down my icing tips to 1.5, and that just helps me to get those really thin, delicate areas piped. I really want that star to pop out in the foreground, so I do add a piped line around that star to just pop that out. I do have a number 2 on the yellow star bag. Let me show you how this fits together. I have my dry stable, and I add that beautiful embellishment at the top. The Holy Family goes right in the center. Let me show you how to decorate this special cookie. I do have a template you can download on the cookie cutter set page, and that'll just help you to outline the manger first. All of the icing colors that I'm using in both a piping and a flooding icing consistency. The only exception is the skin colored icing. I do use just a 20-second icing. Those are such small icing areas anytime I'm adding the faces, and so it's not necessary to mix both the piping and the flooding for that particular color. Now I outlined Joseph using a royal blue piping icing and outlined Mary using a fuchsia colored icing, and then we're ready to get these cookies flooded in. I like to start with Mary and Joseph first. They're in the background, so I'm going to flood in nice and generously just those blue and fuchsia icing areas. Allow those sections to dry, and then you can come back in and you can flood in the manger, and you can also flood in the white cloth and then the faces on Joseph and Mary. I do want to add a beard to Joseph, and so Mary, I'm just flooding in her face, but on Joseph, I'm going to start with a little bit of the pastel Buckeye Brown flood icing. I'm flooding in his face. I'll let that dry, and then I'll come back in and flood in the hay and both faces using that 20-second sienna icing. Now this cookie is almost done. We just want to add some of those details. I'm going to add a little bit of hair to Mary, just some soft waves around her face. I add a piped detail on the top of Joseph's head. And then I want to add in just some closed eyes. So just a very small light hand pressure with a curved line for both Mary and Joseph. Just to pop that hay out to the foreground, I'm going to add a piped line and outline just that section. I feel like that really finishes off and cleans up the whole cookie design. The Three Kings are such a fun, colorful cookie. Pipe those crowns first, and then we can move down the cookie, adding in the faces and the bodies. I'm using a dark gold for the crowns. I'm using a sienna 20-second icing for the faces. The center king has a purple robe. The king on the left has a forest green robe, and the king on the right has a sky blue robe. Now it's time to flood in alternating icing areas. So I'm going to flood in the robes on the left and right side. I'll flood in the center king's face, and then I'll flood in the crowns on the kings on the left and right side. That's half the icing areas, and once you let that dry, you can come back in and flood the remaining sections that are still open. These cookies don't have a ton of details. However, this is a very colorful set in the way that I have designed it. And so when you're planning your cookie decorating day, do add a little bit of extra time into the color mixing and know that your details just might not take quite as long. I'm going to add 3 gifts to each of the kings. So I'm making each of the gifts a different shape. I'm piping those and flooding those in, just to add a little bit of detail on this otherwise simple cookie. Those are really small icing sections. They probably take 15 to 20 minutes to dry, and then you can add some pipe details just to dress them up. These kings are almost done. They just need a piped line across their crowns, and then I'm also going to add just 2 black dots for eyes. I love this shepherd with sheep cookie. I'm using that curve on the cookie just to start off the wool on the top of the sheep's head. Then I want to add his ear using dark buckeye brown. I'm adding the face using that 20-second sienna. And then I want to go back in and just add some scallops going around, following generally the shape of the cookie and adding the sheep's body. Once the sheep is on there, you can use a pastel buckeye brown to add the shepherd in the background. Don't forget to pipe that little half circle or half oval for his face. I'm adding the shepherd's staff. This is such a small icing area, but I do want that detail to look smooth. Same with those little legs, so I'm using my flood icing with a really gentle squeeze to create those areas. His beard is created the same way as Joseph's, just flooding in that little section inside the face area. Don't forget to flood in the wool on the sheep, and then we'll let these icing areas dry and come back in and flood the remainder. Once this cookie has a chance to dry, I'm just going to add a white piped line at the top of the shepherd's head. And I'm going to add some simple faces. This shepherd is super pumped. He just saw the angels, the host of angels, and this sheep is so excited. So I'm actually going to add little smiley faces on these guys as well, just because they're super excited to meet the King of Kings. Now let me show you how to put the full set together. I have that center airbrush section right in the middle there. I'm adding each of the left and right sides. Then I want to add in the 3 kings, the shepherd and the sheep, the beautiful embellishment at the top of the stable, and last but certainly not least, the Holy Family goes right in the center to create this beautiful cookie scene. Now, if you're looking to recreate these cookies and you also want to pack them up in a box and give them as a gift, let me show you a little packaging inspiration and how I pack these cookies just in this beautiful clear box. I roll my cookies a 1/4 inch thick so you can see both layers of cookies fit neatly inside this box. It's a pretty perfect fit, so if your cookies do expand, definitely plan on sanding those down if necessary, if you're planning on packing them up in a box. I'm using a 6x12 cookie bag. You can find the box and the bag on flowerbox.com to pack up all 3 of the stable cookies as once. And then I just shift those cookies into place. And then I'm going to pack up the kings, the Holy Family, the shepherd and the sheep, and that beautiful embellishment into one other 6x12 cookie bag. Once these cookies are all packed up in bags, I'm going to add this backer card. I have this one that has snowflakes on it and some snowmen on the back. I'm not sure that that's a perfect fit for this particular cookie set, but the snow does look cute peeking out from behind. Thank you so much for watching this cookie tutorial on how to make this beautiful nativity scene. If you have any questions on how to decorate or package these cookies, definitely pop them below. I'd love to help you out. And if you're interested in recreating them, I would love to see what you make. Tag me on social media at the Flower Box Shop. I would love to see how your cookies turn out. Until next time, happy decorating!